If you are a fan of cool weather, you are not going to like what we are going to talk about over the next few minutes. What's going on, guys? I am certified meteorologist Jonathan Kagas. In this video, we're going to talk about the warmth, first in the short term, expanding through the south and southeast, then in the long term, as we head towards the next 8 to 14 days, it is going to expand through much of the country. We're going to take a look at both of those, and then toward the end of the video, tropics are quiet now, but there could be some late season shenanigans going on in the Caribbean. We're going to break that down for you again towards the end of the video. If you like staying up to date with the weather, if you are a weather nerd, you've come to the right place. Please hit that subscribe button and join this awesome weather community. If you happen to find this content helpful, hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help us out a lot, and we appreciate that. Post in the comments also where you're watching from. Love to see who's tuning in. First and foremost, we're going to talk about the short term. So this is November 7th through the next few days towards the end of this week. And you can clearly see the divide here as we move into Wednesday, where the warmth starts to surge back up. It's still kind of chilly in the west and towards the upper Midwest, even northern tier of the country. See, these are the highs on Wednesday, 30s and 40s in Burlington. Detroit, we're in the mid-40s, 40 degrees in Casper. All the warmth is building down here. We're talking low to mid-80s, sometimes even getting into the mid to upper 80s in parts of Texas. Florida, of course, the warmth is surging, but we have that warmth building all the way maybe to southwest Pennsylvania, into Tennessee, Virginia, 75 in Roanoke as well. That's something that continues to build through the end of this week. You'll notice here, though, that that sliver of warmth towards the south and southeast gets a little bit smaller. So now we're just talking about Dallas and points south, really San Antonio, Houston, to Orlando, and then just hanging on to some of that warmth in Roanoke. It's another cold front coming through, but it is going to be a short-lived kind of blast of cooler air as we get into the end of this week for the upper Midwest, Intermountain West, even Southern Plains, because watch what happens. This is the temperature outlook now over the next 8 to 14 days. So beyond what I just showed you, really through the second and third week of November, that's a whole lot of red. Now, I want to caution, when you see all this red, it's not going to be like summer-like warmth everywhere. For instance, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, this is all going to be relative to normal, and the darker the red just means that it's a higher probability of it being above normal in the temperature department. So that is from the Climate Prediction Center here, but if you're not a fan of warm weather this time of the year, it's going to be kind of ugly the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now, this is going to be something that may hang on in the northern tier of the country because of El Nino. That is typically one of the calling cards here, warm northern tier of the country. On to your tropical update. This is great stuff right here. There's hardly anything going on. No new development expected over the next 7 days. We just have some random, unorganized thunderstorms out in the main development region. That part of the season is pretty much over. That is shut down. That's not really an area we look to this time of the year. We still have some thunderstorm activity around Central America. That is from Invest 97L. Again, that's that disturbance in the Caribbean that never really materialized, thankfully, although it did bring some really, really heavy rains and flooding rain to Central America over the weekend. So still, especially in the Caribbean, you get these tropical thunderstorms, unorganized or not, or organized, they can cause some issues. The good thing is there's nothing organized out there, and really for the short term, I don't think we're going to get anything. And the short term is defined, at least in my book, the next 5 to 7 days, where we can reliably see here. I think beyond that, though, we start to get a little bit of that shenanigans showing up. Now, I want to show you this. This is one of the best things to kind of look at this stage in the game to kind of long-range forecast tropical development and inclement weather at any stage of the game. This is tropicaltidbits.com. This is the essentially, this is the upper-level divergence. This is the upper-level divergence. Where you see the big green blob, that means we have rising motion. And notice you have that big green blob again. This is going to be toward November 19th. So I have this 2 weeks out now. That big green blob, what that means is that we have an anomalous area of rising motion that's going to be overtaking the Gulf of Mexico, the Southwest Atlantic, and especially the Western Caribbean. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get a tropical system out of the deal, but what this does mean, and because the anomalies are so pronounced here, at the very least, we can expect significant increase in thunderstorm activity again around the Yucatan, into Cuba, Jamaica, extreme northwest South America, and then, of course, Central America as well. If they have enough time and if they can consolidate, that's when we start to have to pay close attention. But it does look like there is an extremely strong signal here that we are going to have some nasty weather, at least in the Western Caribbean, as we move towards the second and third week of November. So we see that is the root cause, if you will. Then we always like to check out some of the long-range models here. These are the ensembles. And again, right now, you don't want to look at individual models. I'm going to show you what a couple of them say about as we move into the 15th to 20th time frame of November. But I want to start out by just showing you the European ensembles. And right here, we do have a few members that show something. It's not screaming it by any means. It could be hinting at a little something. We're going to keep our eyes on this to see if we have any trends in that direction. The GFS, as you may imagine, is going nuts with it. Take this with a grain of salt, but it is on board more, and it has been consistently on board with developing something around the Western Caribbean as we move towards that 15th, closer to the 20th time frame. All those different lines represent a different member of the ensemble forecast with different initial conditions put in. When you have more of those members coming on board, there's higher confidence. So the GFS is arguing for it. The Euro is like, maybe. So it's something that we're going to watch, but I always caution models without context. That's why I wanted to show you this. There's going to be a perturbation. There's going to be something to kind of trigger increased thunderstorm activity. So at the very least, we are likely going to see widespread thunderstorms from Florida to Cuba and Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, the Yucatan, and then into the Western Caribbean into that second to third week of November timeframe. I want to show you now the model spin, and I show this to you guys a lot if you've been watching this channel, and if you have, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you on board as we track the weather all over the place. So there's November 10th, and there's all this red on your screen is vorticity scientifically. We call it the low-level spin to kind of take all the jargon out. But something that you notice here as we get towards the 14th, 15th, 16th of November, you notice all that little area of red fire off from northwest South America and then consolidate. So the GFS is on board with consolidating something. Again, we're looking for it to be red and in a circle. That's, again, that low-level spin tightening up and becoming well-defined. So that's on the 14th into the 15th time frame around Central America, right where that green blob I showed you coming through. Now, interesting to note here, there's also another cold front slicing across Cuba, the Yucatan. So that would prevent anything from kind of lifting north there. That is a storm track for you. I meant to hit this. So there were some shenanigans on the stream there for you on this video. That cold front should prevent anything from lifting up. You see high pressure kind of building here, the clockwise flow around it. That would keep it towards Central America. So my friends in Central America, we're going to be watching again, at the very least, for the potential for some tropical downpours, some stronger thunderstorms. And again, that's at the very least. At the very most, we might be able to get a tropical system developing towards the second and third week of November. And again, that is a pretty strong signal for, at the very least, increased thunderstorm activity. Euro is kind of like, again, same deal. Sometimes the Euro has trouble developing things, so that's why we kind of, I think it might end up being something in the middle, kind of like what we saw with Invest 97L. Again, all that stuff would have to be kind of ironed out by the time we get there, but nonetheless, at the very least, again, you see the easterlies coming out of there, and we have the trade winds, and then you have the thunderstorm activity rolling off of northern South America. The tropical cyclone heat potential is what I'm going to end this video on, and it's a kind of a mumbo-jumbo term here, but basically this is the fuel for the thunderstorms because of a couple of cold fronts and fuel for tropical systems, I should say. And you see it right here, that blue has returned to the Gulf of Mexico, so there is low heat potential. The surface is still kind of warm in parts of the Gulf of Mexico, so there'd be enough fuel to fuel something in there, but the deep warm water has kind of gone away. So we're in that blue category, we're in the low. Where we still have it really deep is off the coast of Haiti and right off the coast of Central America, kind of right in there. So that's where we want to keep a storm away from. Unfortunately, that's where the rising motion and the better atmospheric dynamics kind of come into play towards the middle and latter stages of this month. Nonetheless, we're going to watch it closely, and hopefully we just get tropical downpours that don't cause flooding in Central America. But just wanted to give you guys an early heads up of some of the things that I'm watching here as we watch the tropics in its final official month anyway of hurricane season. Hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, if you happen to find this content helpful, I hope you did. Hit that thumbs up button. If you want to be a part of this awesome weather community, please hit that thumbs up button. And again, I want to know where you're tuning in from. Post that in the comments, and we will catch you next time.